Well, let's get into the discussion tonight as we measure the political temperature in Kogi State, especially with the countdown to the governorship election in the state. Now, unlike some other states in the country, Kogi State's election does not follow the general elections timetable, which is the more reason all eyes appear to be on the confluent state and who will occupy the Lugard House after the election. By the way, the Lugard House is the name given to the government house in Kogi State. Now, there's an interesting history behind that, but that's not our focus tonight. Let's talk Kogi politics. And to do that with us is Mr. Moses Okezie-Okafor. That's the Director General, Research and Development Office of the Governor of Kogi State. Thank you for joining us. And Mr. Austin Okai is a political activist and a member of the People's Democratic Party. They both join us from our Abuja studios. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for your patience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into this. Now, Mr. Okezie-Okafor, I'd like you to briefly clear the air on allegations of non-payment of salary leveled against Governor Yahaya Bello's administration. Is the government owing 38 months? Is it 4 months? Has it paid fully? Is it half payment? I'd like you to clear the air briefly on that.
Let me start immediately by saying that the government is owing 4 months to civil servants in the state who have passed through the screening and have been cleared. It would be recalled that when Governor Yahaya Bello came into office in January of 2016, he inherited about 4 months unpaid salaries at the state level. I think the NLC chairman then had listed it as 9 months unpaid teacher salaries and about 25 months at the local government, even though what he was referring to as 25 months appeared to be cumulative calculation of the percentage payments, the unpaid portions of the percentage payment. We gathered that the Labour and one of the previous administrations had signed an MOU which permitted that particular administration to start paying in percentages because perhaps just like we have now, the funds coming to the state could not keep up with the amount required for the payroll, the wage bill.
Okay. Now,
so as we stand right now...
Okay, go on. Please go on.
The government of Alhaji Yahaya Bello is owing 4 months.
Okay, Mr. Okezie-Okafor, I'd like to read a statement to you. Now, this is from the state chairman of the NLC, that's Mr. Onu Edoka. You were at that event, I believe, and this is what he says. He says, workers are being owed their leave bonuses, while promotion carried out by the government were not being cash-backed, as such promotions only existed on papers. He goes on to say, worse still are the local government workers who are being paid ridiculous percentage salaries spanning several years. Now, this is coming from the state chairman of the NLC, and yet you say that it's just 4 months, especially for workers who have passed through screening.
Yes, I'm speaking categorically. I want to say that perhaps he has other ways of computing his making those calculations. But as we stand right now, state civil servants are being paid 100% of their salaries, and as far as I know, we are 4 months in arrears.
Okay.
At the local government, when this administration came in, we met about 10%. That was the percentage being paid, about 10%.
Okay, now Mr. Okezie-Okafor, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment. But I'd briefly like to get Mr. Okai's reaction to that. You've listened to Mr. Okezie-Okafor. What do you make of those statements?
To conclude my train of thought.
You will in a moment, please.
Thank you very much. The only person that understands the present predicament of Kogi State civil servant is the office in charge, which is the chairman NLC Kogi State chapter, Mr. Onu Edoka, who told the whole world that the government of Kogi State is owing the state workers 38 months. 38 months. And this same statement was affirmed by the chief of staff to the governor of Kogi State, where he tendered an apology and said they erred by owing state workers. So I think that it should be the right. What we are asking of now is what happened to the allocations that has been coming to the state. And just as my friend said, Mr. Okeze said, according to what he knows, of course, Mr. Okeze can't know more than the chief of staff. He can't know what is happening in Kogi State, more than about the activities of the workers' welfare, the relationship between the workers and the state government, more than the NLC chairman. So the position of the ordinary peoples of Kogi State, our stand is simple. Governor Yaya Bello, what happened to the 38-month allocation that you received in the name of paying the workers' salaries?
Now, luckily, you have someone from the office of the Kogi State government right next to you. So, Mr. Okeze Okafo, please, you can land now.
Yes. I think the key thing in all of this is to know that Governor Yaya Bello has been in office for about 38 months to 38 months. It's not up to 39 yet. So, of course, if they are saying he has not paid any salaries at all, we know that even in December, the same NLC chairman commended the governor for the table payment, under which about 4 months were paid to each civil servant. And then some people got more than that, some got a bit less. The fact was that in December, there was a table payment where everybody stood, every civil servant who had been screened, stood to collect their salaries, and they got multiple months.
Okay.
This governor has been in office about 38 months, unless, of course, they are saying he has not paid, that even the ones paid in December was not paid.
Okay.
As I am telling you now, and you can take it from me, like I said, I'm the Director General Research and Development, and I know. The Chief of Staff did not say that we are sorry, we have repented. No, nothing like that. The government has been paying salaries as the funds come in.
All right,
and I can
Mr.
tell you that if you look at it
let's
very critically.
Mr. Okeze Okafo, if you can hear me, let's move on now and talk about the coming election in Kogi State. We'll definitely still talk about Labour, but let's talk about the coming election. If you can, for a moment, just listen. Thank you very much. We understand that the 2019 election in your state had some form of violence. It was reported in the news, and this is a countdown to another election in the state. Now, this is for Mr. Okai, briefly. A lot of people are wondering what would happen in this coming election. If we had reports of violence in the previous election, what do we expect on the 2nd of November? So the question is, what are you doing, your party, in conjunction with the state government? Because for security, we need to work together. What are you doing to ensure that this does not repeat itself on the 2nd of November?
The last election, the previous election, was one of the worst elections in Kogi history. And when you say, what are we doing? There is nothing we can do. We are only appealing to the new Inspector General of Police, the acting Inspector General of Police, the Director of SSS, the Office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the situation in Kogi State is out of hand. We have a governor who do not tolerate anything called opposition. Either you succumb to him or you stand to be crushed. And you witness it, what happened in the Kogi Central between the governor and the SDP candidate in the last senatorial elections, Natasha Kpoti. You witness what happened in between the governor and Senator Dino Melaye of Kogi West. You witness what happened where Honorable Benny Kani was attacked more than 3 to 4 times. The former governor, Alhaji Ibrahim Idris, was stopped from coming to Kogi State to cast his vote. The former governor, the immediate past governor, Captain Idris Wada, was surrounded in his house by the fake soldiers, men that disguised themselves in the fake military uniforms and police. He couldn't come out to cast his vote. Election was militialized, militia groups. And this happened without anybody being apprehended or called to order. So we are afraid. And that is why if you listen to the petition signed by the APC stakeholder, the party the governor himself is representing, to the president and commander-in-chief, they describe him as a violent administration in Kogi. And that is exactly the replica of what we are going
now,
through.
And
even me, myself, I'm not exempted.
Mr. Okai,
Last week,
please go on. Just land on your statement, please.
As at last 3 days ago, you heard of the petition addressed directly to the department, the director of SSS in Kogi State, over a direct threat to my life using the SARS and others.
Okay,
so what we are saying is that
Mr.
Okezio Okafor, Nigerians of like mind,
Mr.
the
Okai,
good people of Kogi State.
I'd like Mr. Okezio Okafor to respond to those weighty allegations. Mr. Okezio Okafor, you've listened to those allegations laid down, and I'd like you to respond.
Yes, as we're talking right now, Kogi State is rated the second most peaceful state in Nigeria. It was the kidnap capital of this country when Yaya Bello took over. As we talk right now, Kogi State is rated the state with the second lowest crime rate, and this is by the National Bureau of Statistics. Alhaji Yaya Bello is known to have quelled the menace of insecurity in Kogi State. When it comes to elections, Alhaji Yaya Bello conducts himself like every other citizen. He does not engage in violence, and he has never sponsored or asked anybody to support. Indeed, before the election, he called a meeting of all stakeholders where he told them categorically that I came to office by divine providence, and I do not want anybody to try to keep me in office by violence or any other means. The fact remains that in Kogi State there are competing interests. And of course, those who provoke this violence are those who still run around to claim that some other person is chasing them. When you look at the statistics after the election, yes, the hue and the cry was very loud. Most of the opposition figures shouted here and there, but look at the statistics after the election. Compare Kogi State to other states. You will find out that indeed the election in Kogi State was substantially free and fair.
Now let's look at another thing. Let's look at another thing briefly, Mr. Okezio Okafor. Let's quickly look at another thing because of our time. Let's look at the chances of your party, that's the APC, and the PDP in Kogi State. From your perspective, I know your principal is seeking re-election, but what do you think your principal? Can you hear me? I just want to know, what do you think, according to you, what has your principal done in the past 4 years that should earn him a re-election? If you can hear me, Mr. Okezio Okafor. Let me take that again. Can you hear me? Okay, it appears we're having difficulty with Mr. Okezio Okafor. But if Mr. Okai can hear me briefly, your party also...
Okay, I can hear you now. Oh. I can hear you now.
Oh, interesting. You can hear me now.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I can hear you now.
Wow. Okay, let's start with Mr. Okai. Your party, the PDP, last occupied the seat of governorship in 2016, and I'm sure that the PDP...
You were giving me a question, right?
Don't worry, the question will come to you in a moment, Mr. Okezio Okafor. But let me take on Mr. Okai. The PDP is looking to occupy the Lukad House come November the 2nd. What is your party planning to do? How has your party, in your opinion, earned the loyalty of people in Kogi?
Yes, I'm hearing.
To ensure election?
Yeah, the aberration, the abnormality surrounding the present occupant of Lugard House has given a PDP one of the biggest opportunity to occupy Lugard House in coming November election by God's grace. You have the fact on ground that over 344 billion naira has come to Kogi State within 38 months of Yaya Bello administration.
Okay.
And there's nothing on ground to show for it.
All right.
There's nothing on ground. As I'm talking to you, there's nowhere there's ongoing capital project within either in Kogi East, Kogi West, and Kogi Central.
All right, Mr.
So
Okai, I hate to cut you short there, but I want Mr. Okezio Okafor to briefly respond on his own part. What has your principal done to earn the loyalty and perhaps re-election? In 30 seconds, please.
I think the facts speak for themselves. The party has won the last rerun election into the local federal constituency. In the 2019 general elections, we got 2 out of 3 senators, 7 out of 9 House of Assembly, and 25 over 25, unprecedented in the State House of Assembly. I can assure you also that Governor Yaya Bello will not be campaigning towards November 2. He would be commissioning his project. In fact, we have we call 28 over 28.
Okay, Mr. Okezio Okafor.
In August,
I trust you have a lot to say. I trust you have a lot to say, but because of our time, we'll have to leave it here. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Mr. Moses Okezie-Okafor, that's the DG Research and Development in Kogi State Government, and Mr. Austin Okai, as a PDP youth leader, as well as a political activist. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Well, that's much we can take on the show tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode.